Yes, people, yes, people, yes, people. Welcome back to the We Talk Football podcast. It's happened. Judgment Day is here for Tottenham. Harry Kane has once again reiterated his desire to leave. What does this mean? Where does he go? What do you think, boys?
I mean, there's where we wanted to go. There's where he could go. I don't know. Quakes, what are you thinking in terms of like the decision? It's like LeBron James, really, isn't it?
Yeah, it's kind of good because you touched on it before in the previous podcast that Harry Kane does need to leave for his own career, because maybe apart from Arsenal fans, every football fan in this country, it's almost like go on Harry, go and win trophies, and you don't really get that with footballers these days just because of tribalism with football. He's become almost everybody's second favorite footballer in terms of somebody you want to go see succeed, and I think being an England captain is a massive part of that. So seeing him actually take the steps and moves through his agency or his management company CK66 to go and actually push that move from Spurs, I don't think anyone could begrudge him. Even Spurs fans are now accepting of the fact that Harry Kane's probably going to leave. It just depends on where he goes in terms of how they're going to react to the move. But I'm happy to see him make this move, because we don't want to see Harry Kane retire with no trophies under his belt. We see Phil Foden's got 3 Premier League trophies already. And he's what, 20, 21, which is crazy. And Harry Kane has scored a buttload of goals in the Premier League, and we don't want them to be for nothing. So I'd love to see Harry Kane go and win a trophy. It just depends on where he's going to go.
He needs to score what I think 20 goals a season for about 5 more seasons to get the record. And apparently City inquired last year. Obviously we're told to do one, but you could 20 goals over 5 seasons at Man City with all of that load management. That's just going to be a doddle, isn't it?
Yeah, I can see that. And the real thing that for me is you can't really blame him for wanting to leave Tottenham, because Tottenham are a side or a club that really seem to be in disarray at the moment. Obviously, with the whole ESL thing, they were the last club to leave that. I don't think they covered themselves in glory there. You look at on the pitch, defensively, they're really suspect. They need a new keeper. They need an entire new defense. They're weak all over the pitch, and they've got a 29-year-old manager leading it. Harry Kane is arguably top 3 strikers in the world right now, and he's playing for a side that are struggling to break into the top 6 of the Premier League. Do you know what I mean? So you can't begrudge him for wanting to leave. And I think you're right in terms of hitting the nail on the head in terms of him wanting to go. And just to talk about what you were saying in terms of going to City, I actually think Harry Kane's a more well-rounded striker than what Aguero is. And you look at the amount of goals that Aguero scored in that City team over years and years and years. Harry Kane can score from anywhere. He'll score from inside and outside the box. You put Harry Kane in that City team, and it's a scary, scary prospect. It's over for the Premier.
Him, Kevin De Bruyne, Phil Foden. Oh my days! And I think going back to Harry Kane and the sort of concept of him not being, judged by the Tottenham fans, essentially. With Mourinho, apparently he was sort of loyal to the last. Harry Kane was the one trying to, channel the dressing room, keep everyone sort of on course. And like Daniel Levy apparently managed to blag him to stay this season with the Mourinho deal. And, by December, Harry Kane's vindicated in that decision to really push and, stick around. And it's all falling apart. The wheels have come off so spectacularly. Mourinho's gone. They lost the final they got to. Apparently there's talk that that Tottenham are pretty happy with the situation. They know that no one's going to be able to afford him, and they're content to keep him for another year, which means he'll be 29 if he leaves next summer. Is he going to push? Is the big question. I'd personally love to see it, but I don't think it will happen, because it doesn't seem like a very Harry Kane thing to do. He won't rock the boat.
No, I know what you mean, but even so, he is somewhat rocking the boat now, to speak, because it's the second time that these rumblings have come out in the last month. Where do you, if you are Harry Kane though, where do you go?
If you're Harry Kane, you go to Man City. Could like we touched on, you can preserve yourself through like load management. You see City, like one week they smash a team, they've got their best team out. The next week, Phil Foden and Kevin De Bruyne on the squad, they're on the bench. So Harry Kane
can go and fantasy teams.
Yeah, exactly. So Harry Kane can go and get that those goals, like Aguero has done under Pep stewardship. but also get the rest because he hasn't really had that at Spurs. We've seen him on multiple occasions being rushed back for Spurs. Case in point, Champions League final where he was half fit and started over Lucas Moura, who scored a hat-trick in the Champions League semi-final, which just kind of highlights the over-reliance that Spurs have on Kane. So if he goes to Man City, he can rest those ankles, which we know are made of tuna, and he can... Are
they made of tuna, or is it just the fact that the weight he's been carrying on those slightly weakened ankles is just too heavy to bear? You know,
I think he's an injury-prone player because I feel like we've seen some again bringing it back to Chelsea. We saw Mason Mount in his first season for Chelsea. I can't remember who it was. It was in the Champions League, and there was a robust challenge that came in on him. A challenge that should have
munched him.
Should have basically broken his ankle. And there's players who are just durable, and there's players who aren't. So I think Harry Kane, of course, the workload doesn't help, but he's an injury-prone player. So I think going somewhere like City would be perfect for him. Obviously, there's always going to be the links to Manchester United because we've seen Spurs players make that switch in the form of Michael Carrick or Teddy Sheringham or Dimitar Berbatov. So that move is always going to be on the table, and they are Manchester United. But I think that the pressures that Harry Kane faces at Spurs won't be too dissimilar to the pressures that he faced in Manchester United, because they're a club that are in transition, a club that want to ascend to the top of football again, and it's going to be all on Harry Kane to score the goals to win the trophies. I don't think they're quite there yet. So I think the move to Man City would be perfect for Harry Kane. But again, like Louis said, as a Chelsea fan, I'll be absolutely gassed if he came to Chelsea.
With just sorry, Louis, I will let you go. But with City as well, the fact that they're letting Aguero go on free does suggest that they've got something planned, whether that's Erling Haaland or whether that's, they've already spoken to Harry Kane and they know it's coming. But you don't let your out and out striker, because what is Gabriel Jesus really going to be your backup striker? You don't let him go on a free if you haven't got something planned or someone that's going to be coming in the doors in the summer.
Yeah.
Sorry, carry on.
Well, it's basically going to come down to a coin toss, really, essentially, because 3 clubs interested: Chelsea, City, United. The likelihood is we're potentially bottom of the pile. Let's hope his missus wants to stay in London, because I guess family ties are only going to keep him around in terms of making that decision, because it will sever ties with Tottenham, potentially. I mean, it's going to happen. But City just seems like best case scenario, win-win for everyone, really. They can pay him the money. Tottenham will be happy. The wage structure will be there. And obviously, Harry Kane's just going to go and absolutely ball. Interesting, they want it wrapped up by the Euros as well.
Yeah, and also interesting that Harry Kane come and push for this move, because you don't push for that if you haven't got an idea of where you want to go. Do you know what I mean? Don't do that if you haven't got a clear idea of where you want to go. So he clearly knows where he wants to go, which is the most interesting thing, because Harry Kane is still playing football. The season's still going on, and in his mind, he's got an ideal destination. So it'll be interesting to see where he actually sees himself fit in. Yeah, I believe that it will be Man City. And the only thing that I would say about that is that it completely breaks Man City's model, because they've never done that. Man City have actually, under their new ownership, maybe apart from when they signed Robinho and maybe Carlos Tevez, they don't really sign ready-made world-class players, really and truly, for above 60 million. I don't think they've got a player who's above 60 million. So it will break the model completely. It's a player who's in the latter stages of his 20s, who's already world-class and got miles on the clock. We'll see if Man City actually go and do that. Obviously, the profile player that you think Man City will bring in is an unheralded striker from South America that nobody knows about, that goes on to be an absolute baller. But it doesn't seem like there's many of those on the
Gabriel Jesus.
So, yeah, but he's not the guy, is he? So
yeah, maybe the model. I mean, the model does work, but this is an outlier, and it seems like a very, very sensible outlier in regards to what they've got in the bank and what it will 100% bring them. It's we always have the conversation between us, Quakes, like, in an ideal world, could you get Haaland? Could you get Kane? It's like Kane is effectively, he's the banker, guarantees you it.
Yeah, 100%.
Well, speaking of talking about Gabriel Jesus and people that just aren't the guy, it's clear at this point that Tammy is clearly not the guy at Chelsea. I've got a quote here from Thomas Tuchel after Tammy Abraham's girlfriend came out and basically dug out Tuchel all over Instagram. The Tuchel boss responded to journalists saying, "It's just the amount of people I can nominate for the game. I decided to start with Timo. We decided not to have 3 nines on the bench. It is never personal. Since I arrived here, everybody deserves to be in the squad. I understand his frustration, and this was not the first time. We have other guys with the same situation. This is not the moment to complain, and this is not the moment to explain too much. This is the moment to live in the moment, and these are the decisive 2 weeks of the whole season." So for me, my interpretation of that is it's the final 2 weeks of the season and you're not picking your top striker. It's exit doors for Tammy this year. It has to be.
And also it doesn't really... There's been a clear breakdown in communication. Obviously, Tuchel's being diplomatic as he normally is in his press conferences. I think he's come across very well as he's been Chelsea manager over the last 4 months. But there is a breakdown in communication, and there's maybe a clash of personalities between him and Tammy Abraham, because that does not make any sense. Because we had in our squad for the FA Cup final, we had Emerson, we had Alonso, we had Ben Chilwell. Why on earth do you need 3 left backs in the squad for an FA Cup final? You need a top scorer. The top scorer is not even in the squad. So like there is clearly a breakdown there. It's not to do with like the players he has to select or whatever. That's just nonsensical. Because why is Emerson in the squad? Why is Emerson and Ben Chilwell on the bench and Marcos Alonso starting, and Tammy Abraham, who's your top scorer and top scorer in the FA Cup, not even in the squad? So,
well,
and Chelsea, go on.
I was gonna say, well, if you're Tammy Abraham, where do you go?
To Tottenham in a swap deal with Harry Kane. Now, where do you go? Because what is his level? It's I believe his level's high. I think he could be a top 6 striker. I know he'll go and bang goals for a mid-table team, but yes, he's left himself in a good position by not signing the contract, to be fair.
I would love to see him at Aston Villa or West Ham. I think he would do well for both of those clubs.
Those 2 clubs would be absolutely ideal. We said, Jay,
they are the ideals.
That West Ham, he would bang so many goals for West Ham. Also, Frank Lampard favourite for the Crystal Palace job, so don't be surprised to see Tammy Abraham land at Crystal Palace on loan. I feel that would be perfect.
Tammy and Wilf Zaha, Eze, could be South London link up.
Exactly.
Could be nice.
Like Benteke has had a good season this season in comparison to his previous horrible years. But the thing about Benteke and the thing about football is that there are, maybe you don't learn off the best players in the world, but there are definitely elements of Benteke's game that Tammy could learn from in terms of the ability to hold up the ball, some of the ability in the air. I think Tammy Abraham could definitely learn from a striker like Christian Benteke. And I feel
Olivier Giroud, has he not been on under that tutelage or no?
Olivier Giroud for sure, but Olivier Giroud is also
different qualities.
Different qualities.
Yeah. And Christian Benteke is Christian Benteke, mate.
And I feel like Christian Benteke would be more forthright in terms of helping a player like Tammy Abraham, as opposed to Olivier Giroud, who's a World Cup winner, who's got his own priorities. He's trying to start.
Tammy will turn around to Christian and be like, hello, Mr. Second Choice. Can you help me? And he'll be like, yeah, sure, mate. They're paying me loads of money to do nothing.
Oh, the thing is, he's done nothing for the last 3 years. So I think Christian Benteke would
4 or 5 years.
The one thing with Crystal Palace as well is they have a mass amount of players that are out of contract at the end of the season. So they're definitely going to have some room in the wage market. And annoyingly, I can see a move to Crystal Palace happening if the Frank Lampard move does happen. Obviously, with Roy getting into his 70s, so
would be a great step for Frank, I think, as well.
100%.
It's a great job.
What I'd also touch on is there is a merry-go-round in terms of there will be in terms of strikers this season. So I feel like we've gone through a lull in terms of transfer windows and blockbuster moves happening, but I think this is the year that it's going to reignite the Euros,
which is weird.
As well.
Supposedly all you're hearing is money, but the market will find a way to work.
And you've got assets that want to move. You've got players that want to make the move and make the next step in their career, whether it's a backward step or a forward step. Players need to move. So Tammy Abraham leaving Chelsea will leave Chelsea needing to get a striker. Erling Haaland trying to push a move from Borussia Dortmund, like Lukaku, we haven't even touched on. Because there's talks about Conte leaving Inter Milan, which is insane because it just led them to Serie A title for the first time. And
that's so Conte though, isn't it? There you go. Give me more.
With that, him and Lukaku apparently got a close bond. So don't be surprised to see Lukaku end up on Premier League shores very, very soon. So it's going to be absolutely insane this summer.
Yeah, 100%. It's going to be fun.
Speaking of we've got the summer to look forward to, but we've also got a big game tonight as well. It's round 2 between Leicester and Chelsea. What are your predictions on the game, boys?
I mean, it's easy to feel doom and gloom after the weekend. 2 losses on the bounce, like first time that's happened in Tuchel's tenure. Essentially, though, if you look at it the way Thomas Tuchel was seemingly looking at it, you know, we've been on top in both those games. It's been fine margins. We've been unfortunate. We need to come clutch. And I'm to be honest, I'm hoping and thinking like the mental strength and resilience is there among the Chelsea squad to go and get a win, because essentially it's crunch time and you have to.
Yeah, I echo the sentiments. I do think we're going to get a win in this game. I think just like the amount of like energy that Leicester would have exerted on the weekend in terms of like the celebrations and the outpouring of emotion as well, because their story is not just about football, it's about things bigger than football, whether it's the fan base or the ownership or whatever. And also they're going to have some sore heads because they would have had a night of party, and the football conditioning as such that like even a day or a couple of days off can affect you for your next game. So if I don't see Chelsea come out and really come for revenge in this game, then I'll be very, very surprised. But again, like Lou says, it's easy to have doom and gloom around Chelsea. But if you asked even Man City at this point of the season, if you told Man City at the beginning of the season, you'd be in the Champions League final and you've got top 4 qualification in your own hands, would you take that? I don't think there's many teams in this country that wouldn't have taken it. So like it's doom and gloom Chelsea right now, but really truly, we're in a great position. We're in a Champions League final. Like our destiny's in our own hands.
What's your score predictions then, boys? If you're both confident of a Chelsea win, what's your score predictions?
1-0.
1-0. I think a 1-0 is more likely the way Chelsea
classic. Yeah, of course. 1-0. Yeah. I mean, the game the other day, the game against Arsenal, like I said, fine margins. We're not really going to be giving up too many opportunities. Have Leicester got another worldie in them? Maybe not. I think, you know, football is just about luck essentially sometimes as well, whether you've got the rub of the green when it's at this level, if both teams are performing to a high level. So hopefully things just go our way today.
Fingers crossed, mate, for a Chelsea fan. Fingers crossed.
I appreciate that, Jamie. And then you just went and ruined it.
What's your score prediction?
I really think it's... I actually disagree with the both of you. I don't think you were on top.
Shock.
I don't think you were on top all game in the FA Cup, if I'm honest. I don't think Chelsea were good enough. And I think the last 2 games has really shown what happens to Chelsea when they go a goal down. And you don't go a goal down often, and you don't look comfortable. You've looked defensively sound since Tuchel's come in, and you've conceded 2 goals. And as soon as you do, you look like you've got nothing to offer going forward, which is synonymous with your performances anyway. I think there's a chance that Leicester could still be hungover from the weekend. But like Leicester are looking solid in the league as well. Iheanacho is no joke. Brendan Rodgers is no joke. You know, they won that game on the weekend without, you know, James Justin, what was it? Harvey
Barnes.
Harvey Barnes, won it without Harvey Barnes. Like, didn't start James Maddison. Like, do you know what I mean? They've got ballers in that team. They've got ballers in that team, and to expect them to, like, you know, just to walk them over after your last 2 games, like, it's very ambitious. But I'm going to go with a 1-0 Chelsea win. I do think Chelsea will win, but I don't share your sentiments that you're this dominant force, you know.
I don't. I think it's going to be a really tight game, and it'll probably be really slow and similar to the last few Chelsea performances. Not exactly the most entertaining thing in the world, but it is what it is when you get results, and we haven't done lately. So fingers crossed we're going to correct that today, and then everything's smiley again.
Time will tell, boys. But in the meantime, where can they find us, Quakes?
You can find us on Instagram at We Talk Football Podcast, on Twitter at WTF Podcast 90. We're on Apple Podcasts, we're on Spotify. Make sure you like this video and subscribe to the We Talk Football channel on YouTube as well. We'll be back with more videos very, very, very soon.
Are we still on TikTok, Quakes?
So TikTok is it's a work in progress, you know.
Here
I
and
just
there.
need to go and buy some more stickers. But yeah, we're still on TikTok. Make sure you follow us on TikTok as well at We Talk Football Podcast.
All right, sick. Cheers. See you later, guys.
Cheers.